Death Valley is a desert valley located in eastern California. It is the lowest, driest, and hottest area in North America. Death Valley's Badwater Basin is the point of the lowest elevation in North America, at 282 feet, 86 meters, below sea level. This point is 84.6 miles, 136.2 kilometers, east-southeast of Mount Whitney, the highest point in the contiguous United States with an elevation of 14,505 feet, 4,421 meters. Death Valley's Furnace Creek holds the record for the highest reliably recorded air temperature in the world, 134 degrees Fahrenheit, 56.7 degrees Celsius, on July 10, 1913. This has been contested by other weather experts. Located near the border of California and Nevada, in the Great Basin, east of the Sierra Nevada mountains, Death Valley constitutes much of Death Valley National Park and is the principal feature of the Mojave and Colorado Deserts Biosphere Reserve. It is located mostly in Inyo County, California. It runs from north to south between the Amargosa Range on the east and the Panamint Range on the west. The Sylvania Mountains and the Owlshead Mountains form its northern and southern boundaries, respectively. It has an area of about 3,000 square miles, 7,800 square kilometers. The highest point in Death Valley itself is Telescope Peak in the Panamint Range, which has an elevation of 11,043 feet, 3,366 meters. Death Valley is one of the best geological examples of a basin and range configuration. It lies at the southern end of a geological trough known as Walker Lane, which runs north into Oregon. The valley is bisected by a right lateral strike-slip fault system, represented by the Death Valley Fault and the Furnace Creek Fault. The eastern end of the left lateral Garlic Fault intersects the Death Valley Fault. Furnace Creek and the Amargosa River flow through the valley but eventually disappear into the sands of the valley floor. Death Valley also contains salt pans. According to current geological consensus, at various times during the middle of the Pleistocene era, inland lakes, collectively referred to as Lake Manly, formed in Death Valley. Lake Manly received water overflowing from a chain of other Pleistocene lakes, most of which are now also dry lakeabeds. As the area turned to desert, the water evaporated, leaving the abundance of evaporitic salts such as common sodium salts and borax, which were later exploited during the modern history of the region, primarily 1883 to 1907. Climate: Death Valley has a subtropical, hot desert climate, Köppen, BWH, with long, extremely hot summers and short, warm or mild winters as well as little rainfall. As a general rule, lower altitudes tend to have higher temperatures. When the sun heats the ground, that heat is then radiated outward, but the dense below sea level air acts as a blanket and reflects the heat back. In addition, the high valley walls trap rising hot air and recycle it back down to the valley floor, where it is heated by compression. This process is especially important in Death Valley as it provides its specific climate and geography. The valley is surrounded by mountains, while its surface is mostly flat and devoid of plants, and so much of the sun's heat can reach the ground, absorbed by soil and rock. When air at ground level is heated, it begins to rise, moving up past steep, high mountain ranges, which then cools slightly, sinking back down towards the valley more compressed. This air is then reheated by the sun to a higher temperature, moving up the mountain again, whereby the air moves up and down in a circular motion in cycles, similar to how a convection oven works. This superheated air increases ground temperature markedly, forming the hot wind currents that are trapped by atmospheric pressure in mountains, thus stays mostly within the valley. Such hot wind currents contribute to perpetual drought-like conditions in Death Valley and prevent much cloud formation from passing through the confines of the valley, where precipitation is often in the form of a virga. Death Valley holds temperature records because it has an unusually high number of factors that lead to high atmospheric temperatures. The depth and shape of Death Valley influence its summer temperatures. The valley is a long, narrow basin 282 feet, 86 meters, below sea level, yet is walled by high, steep mountain ranges. The clear, dry air and sparse plant cover allow sunlight to heat the desert surface. Summer nights provide little relief as overnight lows may only dip into the 82 to 98 degrees Fahrenheit, 28 to 37 degrees Celsius, range. Moving masses of superheated air blow through the valley, creating extremely high temperatures. The hottest air temperature ever recorded in Death Valley was 134 degrees Fahrenheit, 56.7 degrees Celsius, on July 10, 1913, at Furnace Creek, which is the hottest atmospheric temperature ever recorded on Earth. During the heat wave that peaked with that record, 5 consecutive days reached 129 degrees Fahrenheit, 54 degrees Celsius, or above. Some meteorologists dispute the accuracy of the 1913 temperature measurement. The greatest number of consecutive days with a maximum temperature of 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius, or above was 154 days in the summer of 2001. The summer of 1996 had 40 days over 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius, and 105 days over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius. The summer of 1917 had 52 days where the temperature reached 120 degrees Fahrenheit, 49 degrees Celsius, or above, with 43 of them consecutive. 4 major mountain ranges lie between Death Valley and the ocean, each one adding to an increasingly dry rain shadow effect, and in 1929, 1953 and 1989 no rain was recorded for the whole year. The period from 1931 to 1934 was the driest stretch on record with only 0.64 inches, 16 millimeters, of rain over a 40-month period. 9. On June 30, 2013, during the 2013 extreme heat wave, the mercury reached 129 degrees Fahrenheit, 54 degrees Celsius, at Furnace Creek Station, which is the all-time hottest air temperature recorded for the month of June. The mean annual temperature for Death Valley, Furnace Creek Weather Station, is 77.2 degrees Fahrenheit, 25.1 degrees Celsius, with an average high in January of around 67 degrees Fahrenheit, 19 degrees Celsius, and 116 degrees Fahrenheit, 47 degrees Celsius, in July. From 1934-1961 the weather station at Cow Creek recorded a mean annual temperature of 77.2 degrees Fahrenheit, 25.1 degrees Celsius. The longest number of consecutive days where temperatures reached 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, or more was 205 from April to October 1992. On average there are 192 days per year in Death Valley where temperatures reach 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, or more. Before being moved to Furnace Creek, the weather station at Greenland Ranch averaged 194.4 days annually where temperatures reached 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees Celsius, or more. On July 12, 2012, the day's low temperature was 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius, tying the record for the world's hottest low temperature ever recorded. On the same day, the average temperature was 117.5 degrees Fahrenheit, 47.5 degrees Celsius, which is the world's hottest temperature averaged over 24 hours on record. The lowest temperature recorded at Greenland Ranch was 15 degrees Fahrenheit, -9 degrees Celsius, in January 1913. The period from 17 July 19, 1959, was the longest string of consecutive days where nighttime low temperatures did not drop below 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius. The world record high overnight low temperature recorded in Death Valley is 110 degrees Fahrenheit, 43 degrees Celsius, recorded on July 5, 1918. As recently as July 12, 2012, the low temperature at Death Valley dropped to just 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius, after a high of 128 degrees Fahrenheit, 53 degrees Celsius, on the previous day. The only other location which matches Death Valley's overnight low temperature of 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius, in recent years is Kasab Airport in Oman, which also recorded a low of 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 42 degrees Celsius. Citation needed. Dubious, discuss, on June 27, 2012. Also on July 12, 2012, the mean 24-hour temperature recorded at Death Valley was 117.5 degrees Fahrenheit, 47.5 degrees Celsius, which makes it the world's warmest 24-hour temperature on record. The average annual precipitation in Death Valley is 2.36 inches, 60 millimeters, while the Greenland Ranch station averaged 1.58 in, 40 millimeters. The wettest month on record is January 1995 when 2.59 inches, 66 millimeters, fell on Death Valley. The wettest period on record was May 2004 to May 2005, in which nearly 6 inches, 150 millimeters, of rain fell in total, leading to ephemeral lakes in the valley and the region and tremendous wildflower blooms. Snow with accumulation has only been recorded in January 1922, while scattered flakes have been recorded on other occasions.